This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, let's call this meeting to order. We'll start with Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, take two. Public hearings. Would you reread local law number 5 for us?
Yes, sir. Notice is hereby given that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Lake Placid will hold a second public hearing on Monday, December 6, 2021 at 5 p.m. in person and via GoToMeeting to consider proposed local law number 5 of 2021, a local law adopted pursuant to Cannabis Law 131, opting out of licensing and establishing retail cannabis dispensaries within the Village of Lake Placid. A link to the GoToMeeting will be publicized on the Village of Lake Placid website on Friday, December 3rd, 2021. A complete copy of this proposed local law may be found on the village website at villageoflakeplacid.ny.gov, or you may obtain a copy by emailing the village clerk at lpclerk@villageoflakeplacid.ny.gov. All interested persons are invited to participate in the public hearing and will be given an opportunity to be heard. This local law shall take effect immediately upon filing with the Secretary of State. Pursuant to Cannabis Law 131, this local law is subject to a permissive referendum and thus may not be filed with the Secretary of State until the applicable time period has elapsed to file a petition or a referendum has been conducted approving this local law. Signed, Anita A. Estling, Village Clerk.
Thank you very much. I guess we'll reiterate the same thing we did last week. It is our intention to have this public hearing and opt out with the understanding that within a month's time, with the timing is perfect, we will then allow this to go on March elections to leave it to the voters to decide what is going to happen. Did I fumble through that correctly? Close enough. Close enough. And I guess at this point, the floor is open to anyone who would like to comment. I don't know who S is. I see Lauren's there and Andy's there, so we must have gotten the right. Uh-oh, we lost S. It's just down to you, Lauren and Andy. Stick with that, you said, for 5 minutes, see if anyone comes on or comes in. Okay.
Yeah. So the plan would be at the meeting on the 20th to adopt, if you decide that, to act.
That's the date, the 20th.
That's our next meeting,
Yes.
to act upon the local law.
And that's when we need to, is that the time we put it on the March election, or do we need to wait a month?
You have to wait.
So we opt out at that point in the next meeting.
You adopt, you act on the
Local law
proposal.
by adopting.
So you can reject it, you don't have to, so
Well,
act.
that was the
on it.
whole intention.
I know, but I don't want to give, you act on it, whatever you decide.
Okay,
If you decide that you are passing that local law, then sometime in January or February, by resolution, you would put it to the voters in a referendum. You're not going to do that. I wouldn't recommend that you do that in December, because then you have to hold two elections. One for the local law and one for Jason's replacement because of the timing.
we had to do it within 60 days, is that correct? Is that what it was?
I can't remember
I
what
think
it
it's
is.
late January is when we have to.
Late January is, yeah.
Covers us for sure.
But you have to do it within 30 days of adopting the local law. So you adopt the local law on December 20th, you would have to push it to the referendum by January 19th.
Right.
Second meeting in June.
Right.
Okay.
60 days is pretty close. Isn't it?
Yes, it's very tight.
Well, it's lucky it worked out too.
Sure is.
And then
Oh,
we
we
have,
could add another meeting and special meeting in December, I guess. if we needed to.
Still could, yeah. It's 5 after. What does council advise?
I advise that you've given the public their opportunity and
Okay, which means at this point, we will now close the public hearing on the
local law number 5.
local law number 5. And we will open local law number 6, if you would do us the honors again.
Notice is hereby given that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Lake Placid will hold a second public hearing on Monday, December 6, 2021, immediately following the public hearing for proposed local law number 5 of 2021, in person and via GoToMeeting, to consider proposed local law number 6 of 2021, a local law adopted pursuant to Cannabis Law 131, opting out of licensing and establishing on-site cannabis consumption establishments within the Village of Lake Placid. A link to the GoToMeeting will be publicized on the Village of Lake Placid website on Friday, December 3rd, 2021. A complete copy of this proposed local law may be found on the village website at villageoflakeplacid.ny.gov, or you may obtain a copy by emailing the village clerk at lpclerk@villageoflakeplacid.ny.gov. All interested persons are invited to participate in the public hearing and will be given an opportunity to be heard. This local law shall take effect immediately upon filing with the Secretary of State. Pursuant to Cannabis Law 131, this local law is subject to a permissive referendum and thus may not be filed with the Secretary of State until the applicable time period has elapsed to file a petition or a referendum has been conducted approving this local law. Signed, Anita A. Esling, Village Clerk.
If you want, you can read that again to fill the time. Good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Story reader, you're very good.
Thank you.
And we could reiterate that we're going to do the same thing with local law number 6 that we're doing with local law number 5.
We will not be acting on it tonight. We'll be acting on it at a later date, but sometime in December.
Here.
And just because I believe the audio wasn't working even last time, so they couldn't even hear what we had said. Let's just play scenario since we have like 3 or 4 minutes. If it does pass by chance, and the village residents want one or the other, what would be our next steps, or the village board's next steps?
I think the next step would be for the state to decide if we're even going to get a dispensary. And then it would be a matter of where it's going to be. I guess we can start at that point to look into local zoning to see if we want it in some places and not others.
Okay.
Well, I think if the referendum, whether it's passes or fails, but let's say the local law is overturned by the results of the referendum.
To allow it.
At that point, I think that the village board would probably want to consider changes to the land use code that might limit or designate places where these types of businesses could be. The village doesn't decide how many. I mean, what's going to happen, as I understand it, is then applicants will apply to the equivalent of the ABC board, but it's called something else. And then they decide who gets the licenses. We don't. I mean, we may be asked for an opinion, but all of that is not determined yet. The regulations haven't passed, haven't even been promulgated, so they're not even out there for public comment. But I would think that the village might say these types of businesses will not be allowed in certain districts of the community. That's up to you guys. But then if an applicant to this equivalent of the ABC board would have to apply and be given or not. But we don't know whether we're going to have any say. I'm only guessing that we might. There might be the publication requirement like there is if you're going to get a liquor license. You have to publish notice in the paper. But all of that is totally undetermined at this point.
That's because that was going to be my question to the town board. Depending on how it unfolds, if they do allow, if, I think the initial sentiment was, the last meeting I attended was, the board as a whole feels disinclined, like feel inclined to opt out of the onsite. There were still questions about the dispensary component, and that would be my question to them is, at what stage of this process would they go into the land use code and start articulating
Yeah,
the vision of what's going to
I
go
think
forward?
this board has to recognize that they, if the town acts contrary to what this board is doing, you could have a business, a cannabis business, for example, at Placid Pond,
Mhm,
which is 50 yards outside of us.
mhm,
I mean, we're kind of one community, but,
Certainly,
and they'll get the money, we won't.
100%.
If we have one, they get a share of our money.
The minimum, was it a minimum of 50/50?
Well,
Unless
if
it
you can't
was
agree,
negotiated
if you
otherwise.
can't agree, it defaults to 50.
If
It'd
it's,
be interesting to see
That
the
would be
town
the
board
maximum.
never agree.
Yeah.
if it's in the village, it's 50/50. If it's in the town, it's 100% town.
Correct, yeah, yeah.
That's the one thing that I would recommend to both boards is to start thinking about that sort of process.
From everything I got from Nikon, after the first of the year, it sounds like it's going to be a year before you're going to see your first dispensary. So it's not like we have to,
There's no sense of rushing, but
right.
we all know the wheels of government often turn incredibly slow, like my last cold molest.
And it would be a good charge for the Development Commission to start, land code to start looking into it,
Mhm.
making recommendations.
Well, yeah, they may want to even look into it, because remember, if you opt out, you can always cancel your opt out. Doesn't mean you're gonna be opted out forever.
Sure. So,
I guess there's there was it in the paper about most communities are not opting out, I think. There's a big percentage.
That's what I,
So far, I think a lot of them are waiting till the last minute, which is about to be at the last minute.
Anybody else have anything to say before I close the public hearing number 6? Okay, then I just close public hearing number 6. Okay.
You should have a motion to move into the regular meeting.
so move.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
We will go into the regular board meeting. Starting out with village board minutes from November 15th. So all had a chance to review them. Any changes or corrections?
I'll make the motion to approve the village board minutes of November 15th.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Anita. Bond resolution, item B. I'm going to have you explain that one.
So we went out for bid on the water filtration plant, which is actually the next item. But because of the time lapse between the original bond resolution that was done for the project and us going out to bid, the project went from $1.2 million to $4.5 million. And that's just the base portion of the project. So we needed to amend our current bond resolution from the total amount that we had originally bonded for at $4.5 million to $7.1 million to get an additional $2.6 million in financing for this particular project. I've been in touch with ESC, and we were hoping that we could get some of the funding that we've used on the water filtration project that was put towards Main Street back, and unfortunately, they're only going to give us $2,000 back, and that wasn't going to do it. So in order to cover the project, we had to go out and increase the bond resolution. It looks as though once this is in place, if we can get all of our ducks in a row ahead of time, we can just increase the total short-term financing that we have through EFC. But that takes anywhere from 3 to 6 months. So this gets us to a point, if the project starts before that happens, we can go out for bands to cover our costs. But pretty much it.
Okay, so you at this point need us to approve the
Is this
bond.
going to mean we have to go back to fiscal advisors?
Already did.
Okay.
Yep.
So they don't, because they have to give a, will they have to give an opinion and all that for when we
No,
go out?
because it's an amendment to the original one, so.
I'll
it's
ask
just
that
an
because that's
update.
expensive.
Yes,
Fiscal advisors.
this is just an increase or an
And
amendment. to
this doesn't include the second reservoir.
No,
Should we include that or just wait?
we're gonna wait because it's not,
Might be the next mayor's report.
well, and not only that, I got some additional resources from the senator's office on federal funding that we may be able to grab for that particular portion. So we have some time. So this will at least cover this project.
Just
Is
that
this, is this from the recent infrastructure bill that was passed? Is it
No.
state or just something?
The state, so that infrastructure bill is considered a WIA grant, and we received a WIA grant for this particular project, and you can't get two on the same project. So while that works, if we were to do it as a separate project, we could do it, but because they're all three of them are combined under one, we can't get additional funding for it. So this is actually, it's like a overall water improvement grant funding through the federal government. So she sent me 3 or 4 different options that I'm working on in my spare time. So that's where we are right now.
Do I have a motion to approve the bond resolution?
Okay.
All in favor?
Yeah.
Roll call.
Oh.
Trustee Kelly.
Aye.
Trustee, Deputy Mayor Holdry.
Aye.
Trustee Leon.
Aye.
And Trustee Galvin. Aye. And the mayor votes aye as well. Bond resolution passes, which brings us to C, which is connected with the water treatment plant. As you just said, the bid went from 1.2 to a projected 2 to a 4.5. And the bid we got was, you better grab that while you can.
Mhm.
We've been Band-Aiding it as long as we can, as everybody knows, and it's time to move. Anything more to say, or did I take all your words?
Just that the award letters themselves are currently going from Kathy Swazo to EFC to make sure that she sends them all to the right people. So I don't have the award letters with us, but we do have the bid spec that shows who the awards are going to. And it's 2 separate awards. One is MCJ Construction, and then the other one is William J. Murray for electrical.
And is that the SCADA portion of it? Or just,
No, that's the
That's
electric.
another, that's another. We don't know how much that's gonna cost you.
That one has 2 quotes outstanding, which this bond resolution will cover.
very good.
So.
Any questions, or would I have a motion to,
So you're awarding 2 bids.
Yes.
Perhaps you should do that separately.
okay. So the first one is for the water treatment plant.
The MC,
MCJ Construction,
the lowest responsible bidder.
yes.
Anyone want to say what she said?
So, second,
Any comments?
we should say the dollar amount.
4,050,000.
Not to exceed, right?
Yeah.
And is this also a roll call?
No.
No,
No, okay. All in favor? And the second portion of this is the electrical. Is that good enough?
to award the bid to the lowest responsible bidder, who is MC.
And
William J. Murray.
William J. Murray.
for
Okay.
$427,000.
So move.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We will now have a new water treatment plant on the way. Okay, and item B is Main Street reconstruction change order number 2. And apparently that was to lower the water pipe from 6 feet down to 7 feet. And that was done to get it below all laterals so they could be tied into Main Street. Is there a dollar amount on that one?
$130,000.
So moved.
Second, any questions?
None.
All in favor?
Aye.
For Brad.
And then the item E is MEUA Engineering Workshop on December 14th and 15th. It looks like they're sending Kimball,
Sparky, Pat.
Sparky, Mark, and Patrick Wells.
And Patrick's actually presenting.
And Patrick presenting. Go Patrick.
They pay for him, you know.
No.
Good try.
They came for his $80 registration, not for his $300 room. Not 300, but yeah, not the room.
Cost of attendance is $80, total $160. Total cost of lodging $1,032. Per diem for lunches and dinner. I assume that's if they don't provide them, is that correct?
That's correct,
Mhm.
yes.
Okay, good.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. And item F, Northern ADK First Preventer Institute. That was the EPA, I believe.
No, code enforcement
Code.
for 2 fire drivers.
Sending Justin Roy and Brady Hayes.
Here.
Total cost of attendance is $405. Yeah, it's a High Peaks Resort. That's a good travel, right? Can I have a motion to, so moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do we have,
Question?
yeah,
Sorry.
no, it's
You're so
okay.
quiet before I forgot.
So just clarify for me, so they were doing inspections and we really never established who was paying for it. We decided that they've got to do it on their own time. The town is paying for it. Why are we paying for this?
This is the commercial inspections, I believe, is that correct? Not the vacation one.
Does it make a difference? Because,
I think it does.
okay.
Am I correct on that?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
And does anybody know if the town has reached an agreement with them? If they want to do it, they do it on their own time and the
That's
town
correct.
pays for it.
Yeah, my understanding was this is commercial establishment.
Okay.
That's what I was under the impression of.
So do they do it?
That would be on the village side.
So, okay, if there were men covering their shift, they could go do it on company time.
That's right.
Okay.
Okay, we have first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Now, item G, dogfood application. I believe this is Mike Arnold, who operates just outside over on the lake in front of the Golden Arrow. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So
A second? Second. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Anything else to come from clerk item?
Yep. All today.
Okay. And under treasury items, we warrant affidavit number 8. And who did the warrant affidavit today?
Ms. Kelly.
And a motion to approve the warrants?
So moved.
Sorry. All in favor?
Okay. Jason does.
Warrants are approved. Anything else to come from treasury?
It's going
Not at this point.
side.
Anything under new business?
Sort of on.
Anything under old business? Nothing at this time under mayor items. Anything for commissioner reports? Any wrap up on Main Street?
Do we want to go through? You can talk about the place, I guess. If you want to. More than that, maybe just a way of time to kind of manage expectations from residents about how Main Street will look cleaning wise. Definitely work in progress.
And Mary Jane Lawrence, Jackie, and myself went up through Main Street. What day was that? Friday, Thursday? Thursday. And just thought where we could help Sharice out, remember, after her coming to our workshop. And we came up with some ideas. We've ordered some lights and hopefully, if we're lucky by Friday, they'll all be in place for the kickoff to the holiday stroll.
The highway did two of the suggested areas around the restrooms in the municipal lot. And then the fence in the NBT lot. They were not the approved warm lighting, but it doesn't matter. It's lovely.
Also, I was told that the clock parking lot power is not going to be there till next year.
Hasn't worked in months and months.
Kimball told me he was going to splice it and dice it and put something back together because he thought the clock needed to work. And I go,
It hasn't worked. Well, it's right. Like-
he said Cabricki did something to it.
I don't think it.
Maybe it can go overhead.
That's what I think he said he would do. He thought that it was important that the clock work.
I think the clock was going to pop in a few years ago.
All right, well, to be determined if that's going to happen, but we are trying to do some more lighting.
Did anyone talk to Supervisor Rand about including the town into decorating?
And we'll leave that for you next year. I just don't see them.
Yeah, we were gonna have a big plan for the town next year.
What was that? Becky, what's that? Oh, you're on mute.
I got a typed list, trust me, you'll be copied.
You gotta unmute yourself.
Okay, that's it as far as commissioner reports. Public comment? No one snuck in? Oh, we got one person up here. Marty, I see you're on. We did open and close our public hearing. I don't know if you still had anything to say, but we did everything that we did last 2 weeks ago when you were on. That helps, I think.
Yes, thank you. The only thing I would add, I don't think I added it when I spoke last, but you know how we got the DMV to come to Lake Placid so that we could get revenue from people who were going to Saranac Lake or Malone or Elizabethtown. And I guess that made me think that if we can have a dispensary here, we can get revenue in the same way. Otherwise, people are going to go, they're going to go and get it. And as other people have said, I believe, it'll be very controlled. It'll be different than people buying it from unknowns. The quality will probably be good. People's ages will be checked. And I think that's a safety factor that's important. Thanks for the opportunity to speak.
Okay, thank you for your input. And either Lauren or Andy, do you have anything? I believe we're going to go into executive session, just give you a chance to speak.
This is Andy. No, I'm all set. Thanks.
Okay, good to hear from you, Andy. Okay. In that case, I'd like a motion to go into executive session
So moved.
Litigation.
for litigation.
Moved.
Second. All in favor?
Bye.
Good night, everyone.